It's been 6 months since I left. No dramatic speech, no suitcase slammed shut, no slammed doors or screaming matches, just silence. I didn't even tell them I was going. One day I just stopped. Stopped picking up their calls, stopped replying to texts, stopped showing up for birthdays I was never really invited to. Holidays I always ended up cooking for alone. Family dinners where my seat might as well have been empty. It is strange how quiet life becomes when no one remembers to ask if you were okay in the first place. And stranger still when they finally notice you're gone. The first call came after 3 weeks. From my mother. "Where are you? Are you ignoring us?" I didn't answer. I just stared at the screen, her name glowing like a wound I hadn't let scab. She left a voicemail. 1 minute and 40 seconds long. Not once did she ask if I was safe. She just wanted to know why I didn't come to Ava's engagement dinner. Because of course it was about Ava. Golden, beloved, brilliant Ava, my twin sister. The one who cried for a new phone and got it in a day. The one who skipped classes but still got celebrated for working hard. The one whose broken curfews were just her being young, while mine were a pattern of disrespect. Ava could set the house on fire and they'd ask if she was cold. I once got grounded for 3 weeks for talking back, because I asked if I could eat dinner after finishing my homework. I live in a small apartment now, nothing fancy, peeling paint, a leaky tap in the kitchen. But it's mine. No one stomps down the hall demanding why the dishes aren't done. No one slams a door just to make sure I know I'm the problem, just me. And the silence. It's loud sometimes. Not because I miss them, but because my bones are still trying to unlearn the way they flinched around love. Last night, Ava showed up, outside my door. I didn't open it. She knocked. She called my name. I watched her through the peephole, mascara smudged, lips trembling. "I miss you," she said. "Please come back. Mom's sick over this. Dad keeps saying you're being dramatic, but I know you're hurt. Just talk to me." I leaned my forehead against the door. My heart didn't break. It ached. There's a difference. Breaks are sudden, sharp. This was years of dull, persistent rot finally exposed to air. I slid to the floor and waited until her footsteps faded. I'm not ready to forgive. I'm not even sure I want to. But I know this. They never once asked why I was quiet, why I flinched when Dad raised his voice, why I always apologized even when I wasn't wrong, why I cried myself to sleep the night Ava screamed I was just jealous of her, and Mom agreed. They noticed me now, but not because they love me. Because I finally stopped being useful. I was 8 years old the first time I truly felt it. Not just the vague ache of being left out or the occasional injustice that kids cry about. No, this was different. This was the moment I understood, deep in my chest where words couldn't reach, that love in my house was something you earned. And I had failed the audition. It was my birthday. Our birthday, technically, Ava and I, born 3 minutes apart, her first, as she loved to remind me even then. Mom promised a small party, cake, decorations, balloons. Nothing fancy, just us and our cousins and maybe a few neighborhood kids. I remember being so excited. I had drawn little invitations by hand and slipped them into the mail slots myself. I helped Dad blow up the balloons. I even asked if I could pick the cake flavor. He said, "Ava already picked chocolate. That's what we're getting." I didn't argue. I liked vanilla, but it wasn't worth the trouble. The morning of the party, I wore the new yellow dress Grandma had sent in the mail. It wasn't anything special, but it made me feel bright. When I came down the stairs, Mom frowned. "Why aren't you wearing the blue dress?" Ava said she wanted to wear blue. I didn't want to match. Mom sighed. "It would have looked better for pictures. You always make things complicated." That stuck in my chest like a splinter. I was 8. I didn't know what I had done wrong, just that I had, again. When the party started, I smiled like I was supposed to. I helped Ava open her presents. I didn't say anything when she got twice as many as me. I didn't even complain when Mom accidentally introduced me to one of the guests as Ava's sister, like I was some distant cousin. But I remember standing there, plastic cup of flat lemonade in my hands, watching Mom fuss over Ava's hair, Ava's dress, Ava's gift table. And I knew. I was extra. Unnecessary. Forgettable. That night, when everyone left, I asked Mom if she liked the drawing I made her. A simple one. Me, Ava, and her, with little hearts around us. She barely looked at it. That's nice, honey. Can you help clean up? No thank you. No smile. Just a paper tossed onto the counter. Forgotten. I went to my room and cried. Not loud. Not enough for anyone to hear. Just enough to feel the shift. The quiet certainty that maybe Ava was the daughter you celebrated, and I was the one you tolerated. You don't just wake up one day and feel unloved. It's 1,000 tiny moments like that. Small, sharp cuts that no one notices, until you're bleeding and they ask what your problem is. I was 21 when the phone rang. I still remember staring at the screen, heart caught in that old rhythm. Part instinct, part dread. Mom. We hadn't spoken in 4 months. The last time we did, she called me ungrateful for not attending Ava's graduation party. Never mind that no one had invited me. Never mind that Ava blocked me on everything after I embarrassed her by asking if she'd ever paid me back for the tuition I loaned her. But now she was calling. And like an idiot, I answered. Hello? Oh, thank God, Evelyn. Her voice was all breathless panic and urgency, like I was her lifeline. And for a moment, I let myself believe I was. Ava had been caught in a plagiarism scandal, some internship she landed through a family connection. The details were vague, but apparently she'd submitted work that wasn't hers. There were threats of legal action, school discipline, even social media blowback. She was spiraling, and Mom? She was spiraling harder. We just need you to help calm things down, she said. Talk to the advisor, explain how Ava's been under stress, maybe take some of the blame. Say you helped her with the paper or something. The world paused. Take the blame? I repeated slowly. Well, she huffed, it's not like it'll matter. You're not trying to get a job in that field anyway, and you've always been the responsible one. They'll believe you. That was the moment it all snapped into place. Not a call to check on me, not a call to apologize, not a call because I mattered. Just another cleanup assignment. Another favor. Another chance to prove my worth by swallowing fire and smiling through it. I said no. Quietly. Clearly. No, Mom, I'm not doing that. There was a beat of silence. Then the switch flipped. You're being dramatic. No, I'm being done. You always make everything about you. Can't you see your sister is suffering? I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask how many times Ava had cried in my arms and then turned around and made me the villain again. But instead, I said the only thing I could. This is the last time you'll call me for something. Don't bother next time. And I hung up. Of course, that wasn't the end. The texts came first. Mom, Dad, even Ava, shameless as ever. Mom, I am shocked you'd turn your back on your family over something so small. Dad, you need to stop playing the victim. Your sister's career is on the line. Ava, you've always been bitter. This is just another excuse to make yourself the martyr. I didn't respond, but I saved every message. Because someday, when the grovel comes, and it will, I want to remember exactly what they said when they thought I was still the doormat. The first time I saw Ava cry publicly was on a live stream. Someone had sent me the link. A classmate, maybe. A mutual acquaintance who thought I'd care. And shamefully, I did. It was a clumsy handheld video. She was sitting in her car, mascara streaked, voice trembling. Her words barely made sense. Something about being misunderstood, about people being jealous and twisting the truth. She never once admitted what she did. She just spun a sob story about pressure and expectations and not having the support she needed. As if she hadn't trampled every lifeline she was ever offered. As if I wasn't the one she'd borrowed from, cried to, leaned on, then ghosted the second she got what she wanted. I closed the video halfway through. I didn't need to see her tears. I'd already seen the ones she caused. A week later, Dad called. I didn't answer. Then came the email. Subject: let's be reasonable. Classic Dad. The kind of man who treated emotion like a chess game. Cold, strategic, devoid of softness. Evelyn, I think it's time you stopped punishing your family for past grievances. You're an adult now. It's time to move on. Your sister has made mistakes, yes. But she's young, and the world is being cruel to her in ways you can't understand. She needs her family. I trust you'll do the right thing. Dad, I read that line 3 times, in ways you can't understand. As if my pain was less valid. As if the years I spent swallowing silence didn't account because no one clapped while I cried. Ava was officially suspended from her program. Her internship blacklisted her name from the industry. Suddenly, the people who called me too sensitive were wondering why I wasn't at tea returning their calls. Mom even showed up at my apartment again. This time she brought food. Lasagna. My favorite. She hadn't made it for me since I was 15. Just talk to us, she pleaded through the door. We miss you. I miss you. I sat on the other side, curled into a ball, fists clenched in my sleeves. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of me who kept the peace. Who smoothed over Ava's tantrums and Dad's silences and her own careless cruelty. She missed the usefulness of me. And I was done being useful. They never apologized. Not once. Not for the birthdays they forgot. Not for the things they blamed me for. Not for the years of being invisible while Ava shone like a fraud wrapped in gold foil. But now that the gold was tarnished, suddenly I was the only one they saw. Too late. The invitation came as a text from Ava. Family dinner this Sunday. Mom's cooking your favorite. Please come. No apology, no context, no mention of the last 6 months. Just like that. As if nothing happened, as if my absence hadn't echoed through their lives like a scream. I don't know why I went. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted to see if they'd changed. Or maybe, deep down, I just wanted to see them squirm when I didn't play the role anymore. The house hadn't changed. Same picture-perfect decor. Same scent of expensive candles and overcooked guilt. But the moment I walked in, I felt it. That chill, like I'd never left. Mom greeted me with too much cheer, her hug stiff, brittle. Oh, honey, you're so thin. Are you eating? I told you living on your own wasn't healthy. Dad gave a nod. No smile, no warmth. Ava looked exhausted. Perfectly made up, of course. Always was. But the cracks showed now. The brittle edges of someone used to applause, now met with silence. Dinner was already set. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, that same lasagna. A full table like we were some happy, functional family. I didn't sit. Not yet. I waited. I wanted to hear it. I needed to. But of course, it was Mom who broke first. We're glad you're here, she said. We've all had our moments, but it's time to move forward. Mom, I said, voice calm, I want to hear you say it. She blinked. Say what? That you hurt me. That you chose Ava. That you let me be the punching bag in this house for years. Her lips pressed thin. That's not fair. There it was. Not, I'm sorry. Not, you're right. Not even I didn't know. Just, that's not fair. Ava jumped in then. Evie, come on. We were kids. You're still dragging this around like a martyr. I said stupid things, sure, but you were never the victim you act like. I didn't act like anything, I said, finally sitting. I was invisible. You made sure of it. Dad sighed loudly. So this is what tonight's going to be? He reached for his wine glass. You know, he added, some people would kill to have a family that still reaches out, and you sit here like you're owed something. I looked at him, this man who never once attended a parent-teacher conference, never once defended me when Ava mocked me to tears, who used to say, don't start drama, whenever I cried. I was owed something, I said. A childhood, a family that saw me. Basic respect. They fell quiet, not guilty, not ashamed, just inconvenienced. I didn't finish dinner. I stood up, left the plate untouched. Mom tried again. You're being selfish, Evelyn. You're not the only one who's been hurt. I smiled. It felt cold, sharp. I know, but I'm the only one who was hurt and told it was my fault. And then I left. No drama, no slammed doors, just the echo of their silence following me down the hall. It started with Ava's influencer deal falling through. She posted about it, cryptic, dramatic, desperate. A caption about being betrayed by people she trusted, paired with a picture of her staring out a window like a Victorian widow in a makeup collab. The comments weren't sympathetic. Turns out, people don't like golden girls who cheat, lie, and then play victim when the spotlight turns harsh. Then came the sponsorship drop. Then the blog expose. Then a classmate went viral with a thread. You don't know Ava like we did. Here's what she's really like. It was brutal. Worse, it was true. Mom tried calling again, not to talk, not to apologize, to warn me. Don't believe everything you see online, Evelyn. People are cruel. Ava's still your sister. You should be standing by her, not feeding into it. Feeding into it? I hadn't even liked a post. But that is the thing about people like her. Every silence feels like betrayal when they were no longer being worshipped. I'm not feeding anything, I said. I'm just not defending her anymore. That's cruel. No, it's neutral. You just don't know what that looks like because I spent my whole life bleeding for you and calling it love. She hung up on me. It felt satisfying. Then it was Dad's turn. He'd used one of his connections to help Ava bury the plagiarism scandal early on. Quiet favors, off-the-record leverage, but when the truth leaked, so did the emails. Now his job was on the line. He sent me a message, short, cold. You don't know what you've done. I stared at it for a full minute before deleting it. What I had done was nothing. And that's what scared them the most, that the daughter they thought would always absorb the damage had stopped picking up the pieces. Ava texted 3 days later. So you're just going to abandon me too? I didn't answer. I blocked her number instead. Because I'm not a lifeboat. I'm not a scapegoat. I'm not her rehab center, her emotional sponge, or her fallback plan. She's not a little girl anymore. And I'm not the one who left her alone. She did that all by herself. The first photo that made them spiral was just me and a cup of coffee. It was a bright spring morning, my little balcony overflowing with sunlight and cheap potted plants. I took a picture of my knees curled under a blanket, the steam from the mug rising in front of a book. No caption, just peace. And apparently, that was enough. I found out later from a cousin that Ava lost her mind over it. She posts like she's healed or something, Ava had said, as if she didn't abandon us. Abandon. That word made me laugh, as if I hadn't been the one crying in my room while they praised her Instagram selfies and called my boundaries attitude problems, as if choosing myself meant I was betraying them. It got worse when I started actually smiling in pictures. They stalked my socials. I know they did. Mom accidentally liked an old photo from my birthday dinner. One she hadn't been invited to, one no one in my family had even remembered. She unliked it seconds later, but the damage was done. A few hours after that, she messaged me, Mom, glad to see you're doing well. Would be nice if you reached out once in a while. Family should stick together. I left her on red, because on family should stick together was the same guilt-soaked line she used every time I stood up for myself. They wanted me miserable. They wanted me broken. Because if I was thriving, it meant I never needed them to be whole. And they couldn't live with that. Then came the birthday. Mine. No text, no call, no card. But that wasn't new. What was new? The Instagram post from Ava that day. A selfie with a wine glass. A caption that read, "Some people outgrow you. That's okay. You don't need dead weight in your life. Happy to have a drama-free circle now." She didn't tag me. She didn't have to. Every mutual follower knew who she meant. But for once, I didn't cry. I just muted her. Then I took myself to a bookstore, bought the hardcover I'd been saving up for, and had dinner with friends who didn't love me conditionally. That night, I went to bed smiling. It started with a LinkedIn post. Just a little announcement. A project I led at work had gone viral in the industry. A write-up followed. A few thousand shares. My manager tagged me. People I didn't even know were commenting on it, congratulating me. I barely even checked it. Until my phone buzzed with a message from an old friend. "Dude, your mom is posting weird stuff on Facebook. You okay?" My stomach dropped. I didn't have her on my socials anymore, but the post was public. A grainy photo of my high school graduation. I looked shell-shocked in it, standing a step behind Ava, who was holding up her honors certificate like she'd won Miss America. Mom's caption read, "It's wild how some people rewrite history to make themselves look good. Funny what a few likes and shares can do to someone's ego. Family matters more than applause. No names, no tags. But again, she didn't need to. Everyone knew. The comments were a split crowd. Some of her friends offered sympathy. Others didn't. One woman even wrote, "Pretty sure success doesn't erase mistreatment. Maybe ask why she isn't calling you anymore." I don't know who she was, but I wish I could have hugged her. The next day, Dad called. Again. This time I picked up. "Bit arrogant of you," he said, skipping any greeting. "Throwing your name around like that? You think you're better than us now?" I blinked. What? "That article, that post. Everyone's talking about it like you're some kind of success story. You're not better than the rest of us just because you got lucky." Lucky. Like I hadn't clawed through years of being dismissed. Like I hadn't poured blood and bones into proving I was more than their afterthought. "You could have just said congratulations," I replied. "Would have cost you nothing." He scoffed. "Your sister's had a hard year. Maybe you should think about that instead of showing off." There it was, the real wound. Not that I'd succeeded. That I'd succeeded while Ava floundered. I hung up. Then I blocked his number too. Later that night, Ava texted me from a new account. Burned through the last one, I guess. "They won't say it, but they're all spiraling because you're doing well. You were always the boring one, and now they're scared you're actually important. Congrats." That's all she said. No apology, no ownership, just petty resentment. I laughed, really laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so familiar. Even when they weren't in control, they still tried to frame everything as my fault. Let them spiral. Let them stew. I didn't owe them a damn thing anymore. The call came at 9:41 p.m. on a Thursday. I almost didn't answer. It was Mom. Her number was still blocked, but I guess she borrowed someone else's. Maybe Aunt Lydia's. I only picked up because I thought it might be work. "Evelyn?" Her voice was watery, thin. I didn't say anything. She kept talking anyway. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. We've been thinking about you. A lot. Ava's not doing well. She won't admit it, but she's scared. And your dad's under a lot of pressure lately. It's been hard." There it was, wrapped in concern, tied up with, "We miss you." But never a single word about me. Just their stress, their burdens, their need. "I'm fine," I said. I could hear her surprise. She expected me to sound tired, hollow, lonely. I wasn't. Not anymore. "I know," she replied too quickly. "I can tell. You've been doing well. We're proud of you, you know, even if we didn't say it." "Proud of what?" I asked, my voice sharper than I meant it to be. "Of me, or of the fact that you can claim me now that I'm successful?" Silence. A soft breath. Then the trembling sigh. "We just want our family back, sweetheart." I closed my eyes. That word, family. They kept using it like it was a shield, a net, a leash. But not once had they used it when I was drowning alone. "I'm not a prop you can pull out when your world starts falling apart," I said. "I was never the problem, Mom. I just finally stopped bleeding for people who didn't notice I was hurt." She started crying. Real or not, I didn't know. Didn't care. I hung up before she could try to guilt me. Because here's the truth. If they missed me, they could start by remembering what they did to me, not what I could fix for them. The text started coming a few days after the call. First from Ava. "Ava, do you even feel anything anymore? Or did you erase your humanity along with us?" I stared at it while stirring my tea. She made it sound like healing was a crime. Like building boundaries meant I'd murdered the warm, smiling version of myself they used to exploit. No response. Blocked. Again. Then Dad emailed me. Subject line: disappointed. No greeting. Just 2 paragraphs of patronizing venom about how sad it was that I'd grown so cold, that I couldn't even find it in myself to support the people who raised me, even when they were clearly struggling. Raised me? More like tolerated me when I was convenient. More like ignored me unless I was useful. But the real gut punch was this line: "We may not have been perfect, but at least we didn't turn into strangers." That was rich. Because I had been a stranger in that house. A ghost that made dinner, cleaned up after everyone, kept her mouth shut, and got called moody or selfish when she asked for a scrap of consideration. And now that ghost had stopped haunting them. Now they were begging the grave to reopen. A few weeks later, I ran into my cousin Melissa at a coffee shop downtown. We hadn't talked in a year, but she recognized me immediately. "You look great, Evelyn, seriously. Like, lighter." I smiled. "Thanks." She hesitated before leaning in. "Your mom's been telling everyone you're going through a phase, that you'll snap out of it soon." I sipped my drink. Let her talk. Maybe if she says it enough, she'll believe it. Melissa didn't defend her. She just nodded. But when I stood to leave, she touched my arm. "For what it's worth, you didn't change. They just never knew you outside of the role they shoved you into." That night, I posted something I hadn't had the courage to write before. Healing isn't becoming heartless. It's just finally loving yourself more than the people who broke you. No tags, no names, but I knew who would see it, and I knew they'd choke on it. The letter came on a Tuesday, handwritten, neat cursive that tried too hard to look casual, no return address, just my name, no dear, no warmth. "We don't understand what happened. You used to care. You used to be kind. We weren't perfect, but we were family. You didn't have to cut us off like that. If something was wrong, you could have just said so, nicely. Ava misses you. Your dad is devastated. I'm tired of crying over someone who won't give us a chance to make things right. We love you. Please stop acting like we're your enemies." It was almost funny, because they still thought love was something you could insist on after the fact. Not once in that entire page did anyone say what they did, just more. "You used to be better. We're sad now. Fix it." It reminded me of when I was little, and Ava would steal my things, and Mom would make me apologize when I cried too loudly about it. Don't upset your sister. She didn't mean it. Just share. No one ever asked what I meant. I didn't reply. A week later, someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and didn't breathe for a second. Ava, no warning, just standing there in designer sunglasses and an expression like I'm the one being dramatic. I didn't open it. I watched her stand there for 5 minutes, then 10. Then finally, a soft knock, a murmur I could barely hear. "Come on, Evie, don't do this." Evie. God, she hadn't called me that in years. Not unless she wanted something. When she finally left, I found a note tucked under my door. "You're really going to let this go down like this? After everything we've been through? I'm your sister, Evelyn. You don't get to erase us." But that's where she was wrong. I wasn't erasing them. I was healing from them. And if that meant cutting the infection out at the root, so be it. They were losing control of the narrative. I could feel it. People weren't so quick to believe them anymore. Not after years of subtle emotional sabotage that never left visible bruises. The tide was turning, and I hadn't said a word beyond a few cryptic posts. That scared them. So they tried one last defense. "You are always so sensitive." That's what Dad said when he showed up at my office building. Uninvited. I don't know how he found out where I worked. Maybe Ava snooped. Maybe Mom pulled it out of some church friend. Either way, he showed up during lunch hour, like a scene from a soap opera. Tired blazer, puffed chest, wounded pride. "You're being unfair," he said before I could speak. "You're rewriting everything just because we weren't perfect." I crossed my arms. "I'm not rewriting anything. I'm just not pretending anymore." He scoffed. "You took everything so seriously. You always have. It was a joke. We were family." "No," I said. "You were people who taught me that love had to be earned. That silence was safer than honesty. That pleasing you was the only way to be worthy of breathing in the same room." The words hit him like a slap. For a second, he looked almost small. Then he muttered it. Barely audible. "I didn't know it was that bad." I tilted my head. "That's the problem. You should have known." The email hit my inbox on December 2nd. Subject, an invitation to come home. They'd finally cracked. It started politely, punctuated with trembling grace. "We know we've made mistakes. We didn't see it then, but we do now. We pushed you away when you needed us, and we're so, so sorry. You didn't deserve that. Please come home for Christmas. Ava will be there. Your father says he wants to apologize in person. Your mother, she's trying. We all are. Just one dinner. Just one night. Please. For a second, I stared at it and felt nothing. No anger. No rush of triumph. Just the cold, clean clarity of a wound that had scarred over. So I said yes. I didn't go to mend anything. I went for closure. When I walked into that old house, the one I once begged for scraps of affection in, I did so wearing confidence like armor. Designer heels, sharp blazer, a gold necklace I'd bought myself after my first successful pitch to a CEO who called me intimidating in the best way. Ava blinked when she saw me. So did Dad. Mom looked like she'd aged 10 years. Dinner was awkward, stilted. They served my favorite dishes, the ones they used to say were too expensive to make when I asked. Now, they were practically piled with offerings. Ava made the first move. I didn't get it back then, she said, eyes glassy. I was so used to being treated like I mattered more. I just assumed you were fine. But I think about what I said to you, what I did to you, and I honestly don't know how you're even willing to sit here. I stayed quiet, let the silence stretch, let her stew in it. Dad cleared his throat. I failed you, he said. I thought tough love would make you stronger, but it just made you invisible. Mom didn't say much, but she cried. Real tears this time. And maybe, somewhere deep down, there was guilt. But I wasn't here for guilt. When the meal ended, I stood. I don't need your apologies, I said calmly. I needed them 10 years ago. Now, I have peace. I have my own life. A real family I've built from scratch. Friends, mentors, love, people who see me. I put my coat back on. But I hope someday you feel the weight of what you lost. And I hope it keeps you up at night. They didn't follow me when I left. They just sat there, still, swallowed by a silence I no longer feared. 2 years later, I was interviewed on a podcast last week. Topic: Breaking Cycles and Rebuilding Yourself. It went viral. Millions of views, thousands of comments. One read, "This is the kind of daughter any parent should be proud of. If they aren't, they don't deserve her." My phone buzzed later that night. A message from an unknown number. "We saw the video. You look happy." I blocked the number. Then I looked around my apartment. Framed art, warm lights, my dog snoring by the couch. And I smiled. I am happy. And they'll never get close enough to ruin that again.